Welcome to the World United.
Welcome to the World United.
And now we shift into a panel discussion. Oh my gosh, there are so many ideas flying around here. I don't even know where to start, except I need to leave you for a couple of minutes. So I think I'm almost going to throw it out to you. Maybe you can think about this whole concept of overcoming. To me, that's, and it was both Beth and Zach, certainly, that brought up that concept. What are we overcoming and what are we stepping into? And I will be back personally in a couple of minutes. I throw the stage open to all of you who are here.
Well, I have to say that when I was listening to Beth, I was, and in fact, Anastara Makad, I was thinking, man, as I was preparing this myself, I was like, we must all be tapped into the ether, because the same concepts, I was like, hearing from each of your unique perspectives, those same things we're all looking at, just coming from our own kind of unique perspectives. And Beth, you said it so eloquently about approaching, and you actually dove deep into it, and I'm glad you did, because I didn't feel like I had the time to go into it with what I wanted to share. But I was just really encouraged that I felt like we were all tapped into the vibration of the ether to feel that, to share this same message, because we all feel that it's important to share.
I agree. When I was listening to you, I'm like, wow, all those ideas were like flowing around, and it was like, just focus on just these, it'll be taken care of. And it's like, that's part of unity consciousness, is that we have different pieces of the puzzle, and sometimes we feel like we have to do it all, but we don't, and everyone's sort of bouncing off each other. And I'm always amazed. I was in an enlightenment camp once, and many times, but they had us draw something. They give us directions, and they gave us crayons, and no matter where you look, people had very similar drawings. And sometimes we have this very small vision of the world of, oh my God, they stole this from me, or they took this idea. And it's like, those ideas are out there for everybody. And, I always say a snapshot of the future is, it's going to happen. It's genius. If you act on that snapshot of the future, when you see something, then you can bring it into creation. But if you don't, somebody else will, because it's going to happen. Those ideas are out there. The collective consciousness is there, and you need to take action if it excites you to move forward with it. So I think that's a really important part of spirituality, to understand it. And the other thing that I think was so important with what you said is storytelling, the story arc, and things that like tug at the human heart and emotion that we can all relate to, is what brings us together. It's what we realize, the commonality, we're all the same, different stories, different experiences, different backgrounds, but the human experience is so similar no matter where we go and what we do. Like, we are very, very connected.
Well, and we're all essentially talking about these same eternal principles. In fact, you were talking about certain things that I was touching from a slightly different angle, but it was the same concept, to give more of a perspective broad. And in fact, Anastara, it was great, because I was thinking, hearing like the same kind of core beliefs I think all of us have as spiritual beings. And I just liked and appreciated where you were coming from, the way you explained it. In fact, at the very beginning, when Jill was talking about those, moments of, kindness and I was just thinking, man, it's so beautiful that we're able to kind of dive deeper into these concepts from different perspectives and edify one another and share. Anyway, I was just super encouraged when I got the pleasure to listen to all of you guys, and then thinking, then I'll add a little bit different perspective on the same awesome concepts. Anyway, I appreciate, and I'm super grateful that we have this opportunity. Super grateful that you guys prepared those, because I feel edified and enlightened with what you guys prepared.
I think what's really key here too is that no matter what
subject you're talking about, right? Done from that place of heart, spirituality, authenticity, resonance. The reality is whatever you're doing, whatever you're up to in the world, and however your message gets out there, that's what shoots through it, is all of that underneath it, the who you're being, the light, the blessing.
Yeah. Yeah, it really brings up our core values and guiding principles. Like, what is it that guides our life? What is our North Star? And when our North Star is our heart and kindness and compassion and love and empathy, then our actions and our words and our deeds are guided by that. So really dropping in, like, what are my core values? What are my guiding principles? What are the things that leads me in my life? And then living by those, whether it's integrity or resonance or having a spiritual practice. And so everybody cultivates a different one too. We're all on the same path back to the one. We're all on the same path to God, source, energy. And so when we honor and respect each and everyone's path and where they are on that path, then we can come from a more peaceful place in our life. That unity consciousness place where truly, when we think about the truth of all that is, that we are all interconnected and that we are all one energy, frequency, that how I live my life affects those around me. And so when I come from a place of love and compassion and empathy for those around me, then my actions come from a kind and considerate place.
I love it. I love the as I think about the all the avatars and the incredible people that have come before us and been great examples, the Confucius, the Buddhas, the Jesus, all these people throughout history that have been able to tell stories that edify. And because as humans we learn best through stories, and I think most of them understood that. When we hear a story, it kind of connects. Like, you can kind of give people information, but when you bring it into a story, then all of a sudden, like, for example, that's why I shared a few of those kind of on the extreme, kind of more painful stories, because I went to the extreme as far as thinking, okay, how have I been impacted? And our human nature, man's nature is one way, where we want this eye for an eye and get, revenge, and we vibrate on a more, negative, lower frequency. But when you hear that people can overcome through stories, I just felt inspired recently to think, man, if they can do that, then I can do more. And and that's actually one of the reasons I'm a filmmaker. And Beth, I actually looked up a little bit about you as a filmmaker, and I realized, I was like, oh, she's coming from a place, there's stories that she needs to tell that can help lift others up and help other people feel understood and loved. And I think that's what we need to do. And I love that everybody's bringing their own unique way of doing that.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to just offer an analogy here. If you think of Einstein's equation, E equals mc squared, what each and every one of us is doing is on the physical side of that equation by bringing our artwork, our stories, our questions, our connection together in the physical world. But you can't really do that effectively unless you know how to be. Who was it who was talking about beingness? I think it was Anastara. Unless you know how to be here now. That's Ram Dass. Be here now. T.S. Eliot uses the words the still point. These are very different words. We are all using, some different words and some of the same words, but it's the energetic connection. It's, for me anyway, it's like surrendering into a living, breathing energy and then allowing it to flow through me and then back out into the world in one moment of time. Of course, we've created this concept of time and, one particular culture or environment, and it keeps changing. which is why it's exciting. So we need to shift out of this power under dynamic, or this power against dynamic, and into a power with dynamic, which is constant. It's in flux all the time because it is creative and it is dynamic. But if you stop it for a minute, very interestingly, this is the Christian symbol for prayer, and the Buddhist symbol for namaste. And so we're kind of playing, for me anyway, we're kind of playing in two fields at once, that E equals MC squared. We're coming from the connection with something that our minds can't conceptualize. And then we're creating all these words and programs and art forms and practices and other stuff to help us stay there, rituals, whatever, there's a zillion practices, to help us stay connected in these, what appear to be physical forms and appears to be a physical world.
I love that, for example, Dr. Yugandhar and everybody that has been coming together to put on these events to bring everybody together, because it's so needed, and everybody brings elements and amazing truth and stories and perspectives to share, and we just need more venues like this to be able to kind of share. I come from a family of scientists, and so science explains things in a way that I think is fantastic. And I also come from a place of a religious perspective, and I find that it's basically they come together and explain kind of the same things in different terminologies. And every time I hear another unique perspective, every time I hear that, again, the same, talking about the same principles, say energy, frequency, vibration, when you're talking about intuition, when you're talking, Anastar was talking to mentioned so many different things. I was like, see, all of those different things, when you study the same thing from science or from religion or from, like, it helps you understand that concept better. And I've been on this journey recently where I've loved reading, like, from the Quran to the Bhagavad Gita to the I Ching, any text that talks about truth and a perspective. I find that the more we understand one another and understand the perspectives, I think the more just it unites us, because we all have different kind of political views or spiritual, like, slightly variations, and who knows who's really, like, I don't think it's a matter of, like, who's more right than another. I think it's a matter of, like, what works for you to get you to a better place. And as we are all on kind of individual journeys, but like you said, Anastar, but on the same path towards bettering ourselves, towards that, that God energy, whatever you want to call it. The more that we understand each other, I think the more empathetic we can be. If I think that green's a better color and you're like, no, blue's a better color, that's irrelevant. It's the fact that we're all trying to, like, be there for one another and love each other and accept each other for who we are. And I think this is why I feel so edified and so excited and enlightened that just what we're doing here, that like Margaret Mead said, just even a few people coming together can change the world. And that is what gets me so encouraged to see all of you here. And I appreciate you guys being here, because I feel like I'm edified, and it gives me hope and encouragement for the future.
I like to add one thing, and this is based off of my own journey, because I've worn many hats in my life and been in different kind of experiences. And I think the important thing for everyone to remember is you are a creative spirit, and there are no have-tos in your life. If the hat doesn't fit, don't wear it. If the energy doesn't feel good or you don't resonate with something, that's because your place in the universe is different from the other person's. And nobody should force anyone to go into any one idea of what creation is. And unity consciousness allows people to be the piece of the puzzle that they are. They don't have to be the other piece, because that's not who you are. And if we all allow ourselves to to do what makes us happy. It's this natural, like, expansion of consciousness. You're happy, you're blissful, you're doing what you want, you meet other people who are doing what you want, and this life becomes this amazing dance. And I just invite people to go back to what makes your heart sing, because if you do that, you will be in harmony with the universe, and that is the most important thing. Don't worry about somebody else's idea of what creation is. You need to keep coming back to you so that you can engage with others.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I like
challenge.
We're all rainbow.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just like to say that we're all rainbow fractals of the same one diamond, right? Like we create this one diamond light, but we're all our own unique little fractal of what that expression is, that rainbow expression. And so when we're guided down our path, and as you say, find your purpose, your passion, the thing that lights you up, your spark for your soul, then that's what you're here to do. And so everything will be laid out in front of you. The universe will serve and provide that path, because that is what lights you up. And so I always encourage people to do your best to find what it is that lights you up. You can write about it, you can dance about it, you can sing about it, you can create music about it, whatever it is, but what is it that lights you up? What is your message? What are your words to share with the world? And when you find that expression, go for it.
Yeah, you're right. In fact, Beth said something great, because I think one of the things that holds people back is they almost need permission to be like, stop feeling like you have to fit into a box. You know, I've been writing this book, and I talk about this mentor dilemma, because I've had some people that I've mentors that are successful, and I've thought, okay, let me ask him like how he became successful in that area, and then I'll ask another mentor how he became successful in that area, and they literally described two different directions or paths to get to where they became successful. And so it's a conundrum, because I'm like, well, wait, they were both successful, nearly did opposite things to get there. And so as soon as you start opening up your mind, and you, it's not, and you're willing to, like, again, go down your path and think, okay, what is that I'm passionate about? In fact, I think the more passionate that once we actually start creating and building, which I think we're meant to create and build. I mean, we literally, like, that is our duty. Like, I believe we're offspring of a deity. Like, we have God in us, to literally create. And if we don't create, then I don't think we're fully happy. And we see, I think, examples of different people in life of what the society tells us is successful, a lot of money, a lot of stuff, or whatever. And so sometimes we get stuck in the models of thinking, oh, I need to do it like they did. But Beth and Anastar, like, you guys are right. Like, we can go about it in different ways. And we can always use kind of the examples and think, okay, how did they get there? And they think we can kind of pull pieces from that. It's one of the reasons why I was so excited to actually do this workshop in a few hours, because I know that if we all get to find that passion, that the world is just going to be a happier place, because there's something so much more satisfying and fulfilling when we get to actually create something instead of just doing the 9 to 5. And so anyway, that's...
I might add something in there too, and that is the freedom of self-expression, right? And it relates to what you're talking about, Zach, and to all of us, is finding that, like Anastar said, what's lighting you up, but also know that, we are evolutionary beings. And what I've noticed that's very helpful is to keep following those, whether they be whispers or, 2x4s over your head, but really falling forward, right? What is, and I know for me in my journey, I used to row my boat, and now I just more let it flow in the stream. I guide it, but I wait for where the river's also taking me and what's calling to me, what inspires me. The year of kindness was really an inspired action. God planted that seed in my heart. Do circles of kindness. I think for all of us, as we listen to that, then we see what's next for us.
I've been hit with so many 2x4s over my head during my life. And why it hurts.
I think
I'm sorry, Jen.
it'll come like that.
I'm sorry.
If you don't pay attention, it comes like that, obviously, which is
Well,
why,
if you get too, if you get too focused on giving to others and not caring for yourself, you don't learn about boundaries until you get smashed on the side of your head and your trust is betrayed and all that you've given out to other people is not appreciated and not received, or you get slammed by I'm going to use the term narcissistic individual who doesn't feel good enough himself or herself, and the only way they can feel good is to smash you down. Well, I've had to move through that. I've had to move through terror and rage and figure out how to transform them, because neither emotional space is a fun one to be in. I can tell you that.
Well, even Mother Teresa, I don't know if you've read her biography. It caught me off guard when she said that she feels, on one aspect, there's so many things that she wishes she could have done, wishes she could have done more, but she also was actually kind of regretful and resentful that she didn't take care of herself more. And because she spent her entire life taking care of everybody else and not herself. But you can't really help the world unless you actually fix yourself. And so, I mean, that's so true. We need to listen to ourselves, trust ourselves more.
I
And
think
then figure out how to change ourselves rather than trying to change everybody else out there.
Yeah.
Because by changing ourselves, we change a dynamic
Mm-hmm.
between
Yeah,
us. Yeah, go ahead.
Dr. Jenna, I would invite people to sort of take a look at the box that we live in right now and to say, you know what? There is no box. Like, I've created that box and I don't have to live in it anymore, because we are infinite beings with infinite power and infinite possibilities. And when we tap into our own light, we become the light in our own darkness, and we don't blame somebody else for it anymore. And I think that is a very empowering place to come from. And I would just invite people to sort of play with that energy, which is I am empowered. Like, I am a powerful being and I can bring into creation what I have always wanted to create. And I can do it with people. I could do it by myself. I could dance with you, me, you and me. There is no right or wrong in those kinds of energies. You just have to keep coming back to you. And obviously, we're relational beings and we have people that we relate to and families, and it's constant dance in our life. And it's to sort of allow us to be with it, with what's present, and know that we can change things. We're not broken. We don't have to fix it.
Yeah.
We fix ourselves. We just have to start living again and really living, not just, oh, this is what I have to do, and this is what I have to do, and this is what I should have done, and this is, oh my God, it's just like tap into, okay, when am I happy? Let me just start doing that, you know? And I think the past 2 years really invites us to go into that space of really where was I happy in my life? And let me start doing that right now. And let me reconnect to the people that I was in bliss with. And if I can't reconnect to them, then make more blissful relationships. But we don't have to stay in separation. Separation was a myth, because there's all these ways to connect, and people who are on the spiritual path know that time and space can be transcended. It doesn't matter where you are. You know, I mean, I couldn't even, I'm not even going to go there. It's another whole topic, but you know, any belief system that we have can be transcended.
That's exactly why I think, that's why I mentioned it when I was talking. I've personally been able to distill it down. A lot of people talk about everything comes from either a place of anger, hatred, or of love. And if we're making decisions and going down a path trying to find more love and more understanding, and not letting anger and hatred dictate, then I think we're on the right path. If we're seeking, like Anastar, you know, all you need is love. The reality is, like, that we need to be following and modeling and finding music and trying to associate any of those positive things that come from love to help edify us. If we're consuming too much stuff that is about, is controlling or, anger or a place of hatred, then obviously we need to avoid that kind of stuff and exactly find our path. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, like in these temporal, bodies that we have, because our energy continues on, right? And it's been continuing on. I love what you're saying. I think if we do follow that love and follow that path, like our path, whatever it leads us, and even if we make mistakes, it's like I said, like what do they say? You don't succeed or fail. You either succeed or you learn, right?
Yeah, I think that's an incredible learning. I always say that mistakes are mistakes and they're masterpieces in the making. I actually have created an animation all around that concept that people are looking at, and
I want to see it.
But I think that's important is if you give your permission to make the mistake. I'll give you an example. I was painting a picture. I was painting and the water spilled. And I was like, oh my God, I just ruined it. I was almost done. And I was like panicking. And then I just took the brush and I was trying to clean up the water. And as I took it, these streaks of sunlight sort of just like as I was cleaning it up, I'm like, oh my God. And I stepped back and I was like, I just created a masterpiece. I mean, it was just, and it was like, it was spilling water all over my painting. And then suddenly it went to the next level. It was like these streaks of sunlight like lit up the whole painting with the brush trying to clean it up. I was like, wow, that was such an amazing spiritual journey for me. I wasn't even on a spiritual path. That one lesson stuck with me forever.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, I like to say that failures are attempts at future successes. So basically, just like one thing that was really coming through when you were speaking earlier, Zach, was the connection of how all these sages and gurus teach, right? And through storytelling. And when we think about the oral traditions and how stories are passed down from generation to generation, it's so different now because of media, because of the way that we receive our stories. And what I see so prevalent is the whole like battle between good and evil. White, black, red, blue, he, she, all the, the duality and the polarity. And when we think about unity consciousness, what I'm really starting to see is that neutral observer position and the triangulation that is required to actually be able to view and see all sides of the story, right? And so one of the things that all these gurus and teachers teach is love and compassion and peace. And so if we take those messages across all timelines, all dimensions, then we can really begin to see how we can start weaving these new stories. So a girlfriend of mine, her name is Miracula, she considers herself a wordstress, right? And she's connecting words and creating new words and a whole new birth dictionary, so to speak. One of the quotes I said earlier was from her: the joy yearning is the blestination, right? And so combining these words can help us cultivate a new language, cultivate a new culture in which we are the creators, and our creator consciousness coming from unity consciousness, and so human language is so limiting already, but if we start connecting in these words that can cultivate a whole new culture for us, then it opens new neural pathways, right? It's like, okay, I have something that I want to express, and if I find new ways to weave the story that connects in with others' hearts, as Beth was saying earlier, really connecting in with what touches people, what touches, moves, and inspires people. Well, it's touching stories. Unfortunately, it usually has to do with some kind of tragedy the human condition almost requires that we live in that duality so that we can experience great heights of love and happiness in contrast to hate and fear and separation. And so how can we weave new stories that brings us more into a centered, peaceful, loving, compassionate place and doesn't require those extremes? I understand that when we're living in this 3D matrix, that is a necessary evil, so to speak. Like, it's something that we have to experience so that we can return to unity, so that we can return to oneness. We won't be able to experience something unless we have the opposite experience. There is no light without dark. There's no dark without light. I understand that. And yet there's all those shades of gray in the middle that we can experience. And so I'm like really starting to come into a place of like, how are we weaving these new stories? For example, I'll give you an example. Children's stories, children's books. Jack and Jill ran up the hill, they fell down, broke the crown. I mean, they cracked their head open, right? And so how can we, hey, how about they got up to the top of the hill and they opened their crown chakra to God, and they suddenly had a vision or whatever it might be, right? I mean, the Ring Around the Rosies, Pocket Full of Posies, it was about the plague. Like, how can we make these children's stories something that's inspiring and motivating and not from a place of like separation or fear or anger or doubt or, you know. So anyhow, that was one piece that came up. The other piece was the connection between spirituality and science and technology, and how what we're talking about on a spiritual level and being interconnected energetically, frequency, vibration wise, is being totally, how can I say, quantum physics is showing us that is exactly the truth, that this empty space that we experience is filled with infinite possibilities. It's not a vacuum. And so the connection between spirituality and science and technology is like merging now. And these two things that have been tried to be separated for so long is now merging and really coming into the full explanation of what is unity consciousness. So it's really exciting. We're living in a very exciting
What do you
time.
say? Even quantum entanglement, right? Like, which you're kind of touching on as well. Quantum entanglement is like particles could be on the other side of the world, other side of the universe, literally move and react to a particle. I mean, science is saying that. Like, those of us who kind of focus on, come up from, talk about it, describe it from a spiritual perspective. These are concepts we already get, that we are interconnected. And I think everybody here has literally said that we're interconnected. And I think there are the bad wolves that are in each of us sometimes take over certain people, and their objective is to divide and to separate, rather than allow us to, everybody coming from a, people talk about like their perspective or their truth, their experience. Like, everyone has a right to feel how they feel. And when you see people out, rioting or different things like that, you think like, if you really take a step back, like you're talking about this kind of neutral perspective, in the sense you're like, well, okay, what are their concerns? What are they really trying to talk about? I don't believe that there are that many bad people in the world. I actually think there are very few truly bad people. But even the funny thing is, it's funny, I read a book on Pablo Escobar, and this is a drug dealer that's done a lot of damage, but in his mind, he actually thought he was doing good, or rationalized it to the point. And I just thought that was interesting, because even people who we look at and we think, oh, they're a bad person, in their mind, they might think that they're doing good. And it's just an interesting perspective. And I'm not condoning or condemning people's actions. What I'm saying is, it's just a great way to look at when somebody's saying, hey, look, my voice is not being heard. Beth mentioned that in her topic. Like, when people are not feeling heard, they need to, they get louder. And sometimes maybe their approach might not be the most couth way of doing things, but it's fine. Like, they're just trying to be heard, and people need to be heard. And the more we try to understand, even if we don't agree at the end of the day, if we understand where people are coming from, and we're all ultimately wanting the same thing, happiness, joy, when you distill it down to that, I think that, just by the mere fact that we try to understand each other and appreciate where each other's journeys and paths are coming from, I think we're going to make the world a better place and leave it for the, better for the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for the panel, and I have just put my legal hat on. I practiced law for 22 years in the city of Atlantic City. I've heard everybody here speak about love. So what kind of love are you talking about? Are you talking about sexual love? Are you talking about tough love? Are you talking about agape? Are you talking about friendship? What does that word love mean to each of the speakers here? I think it makes a huge difference in how you choose your actions in each and every moment. And what are your intentions?
I think that there are so many different forms of love that it's hard to even, sort of say, oh, this one. There's relationship, there's love for animals, there's love for the type of work you do, the type of creations you do. I mean, for example, Astaria, you mentioned how kids sing these songs. Kids are so pure. They don't even think like that, It's like, as we let these thoughts and realize what the truth is, or what went into these songs, then it starts to taint our experience of what we experienced when we were kids. Like, we love to play. There's love for play. And we forget that as adults, that sometimes our world is just bliss and we didn't let those other things in. And I think that's an important part of spirituality, is to let yourself love the play, like the playful spirit again, because if we start to break it down too much and evaluate, we take the joy out of life and the joy out of the experience. And I think that is so important. Like, bliss and only this is sometimes my mantra when everybody else's stuff starts to sort of cave in. I'm like, I just lost the fun of everything I was doing, and that's not good. Like, today with social media and film, you can change the channel, pull the plug on negativity in seconds, and go to an experience that feels good to you. And it's the same thing with spirituality. You have to love yourself enough, and you have to love others to give yourself and others the ability to do that, so we can all live in bliss and joy again.
Thanks, Beth. Anybody else have anything they want to contribute on? We can get back to unity consciousness if you'd like to focus on that particular subject, which I believe is what has been structured for us to focus on here. And we can walk outside of that box if we want to, which we're certainly doing to some extent. Where would you like to focus the conversation next?
Well, love, I'll reach out with this. Love encompasses so many things. So to make it just the word love, it's a word. So it's not about the word. It is about the emotion connected to the actual word. So the feeling in the heart, the feeling in the soul. Love can be painful, yet it can be joyous. It's the total opposite, but actually it's connected to fear. Without fear, you cannot have love. Without light, you can't have dark. Do I prefer not to have the dark? Absolutely. I'd rather live in a world full of light consistently. But we see now the two different actions of people's thoughts. Their thoughts and their voices are not connecting. They're just not connecting. It's not a word. It's an emotion. It is, I feel. It's be grateful. I am in gratitude. That's love. Just to say, oh, I love you. People use that word and it's so bland. There's no true context to it. You're just saying a word. is to really love someone, then you do something to show them you love them. You don't expect anything in return. You give it as a gift from your heart and soul, and it's nothing is expected in return, and you find joy in the giving. And if you can do that, then you truly are in a divine space of giving and actually being in love.
You know, the challenge that I have run into over and over in my own life is I may give from what feels to me like a place of love, but it's not received or understood from a place of thank you or gratitude. It's, oh my God, she's telling me what to do.
Okay.
Stay away from me. Now, how do you play with that dynamic? I find that a challenge.
Okay, so I've had that problem, or else I wouldn't talk about it. Using your voice, because that would be something I would be thinking about anyway. It's not you have, it's making a choice, and no have to, it's a choice. The choice of going, okay, I'm fine with that. It took me a long time to do that with people, because I would get offended or this or that, which is what you do, or you don't know where to go with it. Eventually, if you go, okay, and look at it from an observant, like the great Eckhart Tolle would say, be the observer, like the great Dr. Dispenza. I could go along with teachers that are amazing, and they teach all of this. They accumulate this to tell you, you know what? It's not personal. Stop taking it personally. It's their lesson, it's your lesson, and don't put it in a box. Just watch it and go, now that was interesting, and try to smile at it going, okay, that's their stuff. It doesn't even belong to me. If you could go there, wow. And let me tell you, I do that, and sometimes I don't. None of us are perfect. We're going to be teachers. We're all teachers, and we're all students. And if you can be both, then there's an issue there. You have to learn to, I will always be a student. Yeah, I can teach people, but I'm going to go to someone else to help me learn too. I want to learn from everybody here today, because everybody here is magical in their own right, in their own way, as you are. So you asked a question that was,
Oh, heck, we're missing out on that. I wanted to hear that answer.
so what everybody in this room is asking, hey, I just go, okay, not my stuff. I'm okay.
You just froze. You just froze. I missed what you were just saying.
Oh no.
Now you're muted. The universe does not want your words to go out there right now.
That's funny. I hit the wire and I almost heard laughter from everybody. And once it was so funny when I was laughing. See, it's okay. They were showing you something that was so spiritually intervened that they're like, so what? It happened. It made you laugh. Do you understand? So that okay just made you laugh. That's where you need to go. Do you feel that joy? It's that be grateful. I'm in joy right now. I thought that was hysterical.
You're what?
I could not panic. I mean, at certain moments, I'm not going to go into panic. I've done that too much all my life from traumatizations. So I'm tired, sick and tired of being sick and tired. So instead of being sick and tired and fight, I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to watch this. This should be interesting. I do it all the time. I irritate the hell out of people. But that's okay. It's okay. My intention is well-meaning. As you can't accept me for who I am, that's on you. That's not on me. And I don't judge you. And you don't have to judge me. We're good.
But aren't there other action steps required or choices, action choices on your own part? Are you going to stay in this relationship or are you going to go someplace else?
Exactly. So that's a choice. You sit. It's a choice. And you make the choice. You need to sit with yourself, whatever feels right to you, make the choice and take action. You don't take action, nothing changes. Nothing.
I agree.
If I didn't take action all my life, I wouldn't be alive today. Seriously, I'm not kidding.
What if, for example, you're in the context of a mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship? So you're in family.
I am in one, and it's an amazing one because I accept her as she is. She accepts me as I am. We have a discussion. We have the best relationship because of the discussion. I'm very blessed.
Yes, you are. You definitely are. I would love to have
say
a
good day to
discussion.
everyone.
Yeah,
Good day.
thanks for being here, Anastar.
So much. My pleasure.
And we have, let's see, we have 9 minutes left.
So we'll just take a couple of minutes if there are some final things that need to be said, and then we would love to take about 5 minutes to connect with the session 2B speakers and make sure that they're connected, their audio is going well. So if we just have a couple of final comments, and then we'll close this session and move on to a little bit of preparation for session 2B. Spirituality and health.
Okay, who has a short final comment?
I would love to jump in for the moment. Yeah.
Anastar, go ahead.
Is it okay, Beth?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So such a pleasure to be here and share with all of you, and to just connect into the heart and the heart coherence frequency, as well as acknowledging 1111 and those beautiful paths or synchronistic signs that the universe provides for us, including repeating number patterns. And so unity consciousness is definitely the place where you can find me. I love this discussion and this conversation. I feel like this is going to be the way that we create our new birth together, coming from unity consciousness, love, peace, compassion, empathy. And so bless you all on your path, wherever you are, sending you love. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Anastar. Beth,
Thank you.
what you got to say? Short.
Yeah, no, it actually tags on to what Anastara and Francine and you, Dr. Janet, have just said. I think the unity consciousness piece that I think is important for all of us to understand is life is a gift, and experience that come into our path and the people that come into our path are also a gift. And when you're dealing with things that sort of get your back up against the wall, or you're like, oh no, why is this happening? I mean, I'm a storyteller, and I'm constantly creating, and I have changed my perspective to go, oh my God, I can weave this into my storytelling or my art. Everything is food for my creation. And so that has opened me to the unity consciousness of what is presented from the universe into my world. And so I had to shift that experience. And I invite people to sort of open the door to that kind of playful energy with people and experiences that come into your life. Like, how do they fit into your world? Like, wow, it's a gift. What do I do with it?
Thank you. I thank you for being here, Beth. I mean, you've had so much to contribute to the discussion. And I am your moderator, both here and the next session. I will be taking a short break while the rest of you are figuring out the logistics. But my final words are, be here now. So thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.